exciting fight you'll ever see in your life. And Ron Katz, the matchmaker, sitting right next to us, and I'm lobbying with him right now that even if Ricky Thomas doesn't come through this fight, Toney with a win, which he possibly might not, let's see him against the guy that he has a good shot at beating.
Meantime, the clinic continues here. Toney says to Thomas, come on.
Toney, you know, the other thing about Toney that gets lost in the shuffle somewhere is his counterpunching ability. Excellent counterpuncher. That is part of what's giving Thomas problems in this match.
There was a good right hand. That might have gotten Thomas' attention. The left hand, beg your pardon. Thomas continues to fight back.
You know, it is interesting. He's showing these nice combinations, just as he did against Darren Van Horn and Lamar Parks and these other good fighters that he fought. And it's doing even less for him here against James Toney.
And that time, Toney with a crafty move just spun him and hit him.
Another big name that he fought that he lost in 10, he really felt he beat him, was Davey Hilton. He lost to him in Canada, so that should give you a clue. Davey Hilton, of course, from Canada.
Thomas, for the first time, takes a backward step. Another good round for James Toney.
James Toney knows what's coming from Ricky Thomas. Everything is either blocked or slipped. Of course, remember what Mickey Mantle said about Sandy Koufax in the 60 World Series? He said, if I had known a curveball was coming from Koufax, I still wouldn't have hit it. In this case, if Toney didn't know, he's going to definitely slip the punch.
The numbers in the 5th round, and Toney again just in complete control. Thomas, incidentally, only landed 1 of 33 power shots that he threw, and that speaks to exactly what you were talking about.
And the punches he threw, were not wild, crazy punches. Now James Toney is throwing, and you made the point, Barry, in the last round. For the first time, Ricky Thomas felt, it seemed like he was affected by the power of Toney. Look at this.
Boy, those are some great shots. Those are just great shots.
Even the ones that are blocked, after that comes a left hook to the body that you don't block. Beautiful 5-punch combination. One got there for Ricky Thomas. By the way, Ron Katz has assured me we are going to see Ricky Thomas again in a bout in which he's going to be on pretty equal terms, and he's got a good chance to win or put on a great show for us.
And Ron's also going to make Lou Savaris and Hulk Hogan.
Or is it the Incredible Hulk?
Yeah.
And pulling him in like that is the first sign of frustration we see in Ricky Thomas. And you know, James Toney, in talking to us today, he had a lot of respect for Thomas. He said, this is not a bad fighter I'm fighting. He said, I saw him fight Lamar Parks. I saw him beat Darren Van Horn. He said he definitely beat Van Horn. He felt that Thomas won that fight. He said, so I know I'm not in there against some pussycat. And I'll tell you what, he's in very good shape, James Toney. Even though he's slightly over the 168-pound limit.
He was 170 today. He was absolutely right, his assessment of Thomas.
You know, they talked today about whether maybe Toney would come into this bout less than motivated. This is the camp for Ricky Thomas, and they might catch him on an off day. They didn't.
No. I think off days for him may be a memory.
I believe so. And I think a lot of it has to do with the weight. At 168, he can make this weight.
An uppercut. I'm sorry I let him interrupt. Your best punch of the fight by Toney. End of round 6. We'll be back.
And followed by a superb right hand. They've been very nice to us here at the Fernwood Resort, and we've enjoyed our stay.
Expect we'll be coming back. 6 rounds, and you see the edge now that Toney has built up. 30 punch landed edge. There's the uppercut again.
You feel the power of Toney taking over.
Make a step over! Come on, Toney! He doesn't want to be, baby. Give it to him.
Frustrating for Ricky Thomas right now because his technique is still there, believe it or not, after getting nailed with these big shots. But as Phil Miller told Toney, and he's listening to him, the jab will disrupt everything that Ricky Thomas is doing. And Thomas wanted to get his own jab in against James Toney. Couldn't quite, has not been able to do it.
Hand speed of James Toney is really a marvel at this weight.
Yeah, moving up in weight, but not losing anything. In fact, gaining in a way because he doesn't feel weak, so he's throwing quicker.
No, he is. He's much more up-tempo and has been from the opening bell.
Now, the Darren Van Horn defense is a mandatory defense, and in truth, that's going to be a very tough fight for Darren Van Horn against James Toney. He got whacked out by Iran Barkley, but it's a mandatory, and they have to do it, so Toney will do it. But after that, it's blue sky all the way. You got Nigel Benn or Eubanks, just Eubanks, whoever wins that. Michael Nunn is certainly a possibility. Now Nunn also a super middleweight champion of another organization. Of course, eventually Roy Jones.
A lot of fights out there for James Toney.
And you know, he dislikes the perception that somehow Roy Jones is a Superman to him. She pointed out to us, he does not feel that he would go into that Roy Jones fight as an underdog.
I think it'd be a competitive fight, too.
I think it would be an outstanding fight. I have a lot of respect for Roy Jones' punching power. Oh, look at the combinations by James Toney. See, and Ricky Thomas can't do what they want him to do. He's trying to. He's trying to step to his right and land that right hand as Toney bends down with his shoulder. Toney is simply too quick for him to execute that move.
So Toney continues to take Ricky Thomas to school in what has been a flawless performance so far. And around 7.
James Toney landing everything, including this uppercut on the inside against, and then he follows with the hooks. It's not just the uppercut, but here comes a punch right after it. Barry, I have to tell you, the 7 rounds he fought here and the 8.5 he fought against Iran Barkley, I think are the best rounds of boxing James Toney has fought, period, as a pro, by far.
Hard to argue that. I mean, as you said, we watched that fight together. He didn't lose a round in that fight, and I don't think he's lost a round in this fight.
It's the way he's not losing.
Yeah, you're right.
It's just really astonishing. There's the jabs, showing you how Toney has won the battle of the jabs. And Ricky Thomas has made an effort throwing over 200 jabs. Now, here's what Ricky Thomas is doing now, and I don't think it's a bad idea. Trying to give Toney a lot of movement. Maybe this will get Toney out of his rhythm, and he can land punches from a different angle. Not a bad idea. Nothing else has worked for Ricky Thomas.
Of course, a shutout. I mean, you just can't see it any other way. And again, it's not to detract from what Thomas has tried to do.
Well, if he should lose this match, and Ricky Thomas is on his way to doing it, it would be his 5th straight loss. He lost to Brian Bannon in 6. He lost to Darren Van Horn in 10. Lamar Parks in 10. Johnson Suma in Johannesburg, South Africa in 10. At least 3 of those fights he feels he won. But it's a shame. It's not indicative of what he's up to.
The crowd suddenly turns away from the ring. Little activity going on away from the ring.
Oh, why not? We had everything else here tonight, so it's been a very, very bizarre evening in many respects.
And continues so. People enlisting Larry Holmes' help.
I would if I was him.
Larry doesn't do that without being paid.
No. No way he did with Trevor Burbick one time.
That's true, yeah.
James Toney is just having his way, continues to be able to do pretty much what he wants. Lou Savarese and Nathaniel Finch going at it.
Yeah, maybe. Toney driving Thomas back with the left hand. And there's a huge right hand. And a left hand again. There was a counter left by Toney. And Toney just, there's just nothing you could say. But as has already been said, brilliant performance.
James Toney throwing excellent combinations, good, short, sharp, crisp punches, and Ricky Thomas, they told him very pointedly in the corner, get off the ropes, but that is the least of his problems. I don't think he's been on the ropes that much in this bout, but when he does get there, yeah, James Toney will do a job on it.
He's done a job in the center of the ring, too. It is hard to imagine, though, that despite the fact that Thomas has fought very good fighters, that he's lost his last 5. Because he definitely has skills.
Yeah, he should have somewhere in there, but then he feels like he did get a win somewhere in there. Everybody, I guess, apparently felt that he beat Darren Van Horn. He felt he won in South Africa, but didn't get the decision. And he's obviously not the kind of boxer who's going to knock a lot of people out. Not a huge power puncher.
Triple jab. Counter left. Left hand and a straight right. Right uppercut.
You know what's astonishing to me? That with all that's happened here in the 9th round, that Ricky Thomas is managing to still throw punches and throw them in a way that is appropriate. It's good technique.
They're not defensive punches.
And now they're getting a little wider, but it's getting nailed a little bit even more, but still.
Watch that head, Ricky.
Jab, straight right hand.
You can see all the moves are there. Toney doesn't land the right. He takes a step to his left to put himself in a better position to throw the hook. These are instinctive moves. To give Bill Miller a lot of credit, his trainer. Of course, James Toney for being able to assimilate him.
And like all the great ones, too, he brings the right hand behind the jab so quickly that his man doesn't have time to recover from the jab.
And I have to tell you something. This has not always been so with him. That's why I'm very willing to accept his explanation that getting down the middleweight made him a lesser fighter, because as a 68-pounder, in his 3 fights, he has looked infinitely better than he ever did as a middleweight. And he was good as a middleweight because he was good enough to win a championship and hang on to it for a couple of years. He's serving notice to people that are going to face him in this weight that they're going to see a different guy.
Mary hurt Thomas, and Thomas goes down for the left hand at the bell. Can't be saved by the bell, though, and he does get up.
Sit down, sit down. Bell rang. Sit down. Come on, wake up. Put it over here. Put out. Come on, baby. You gotta go the distance. Let's go. Come on, Ricky. Come on, baby. Come on now. Ready? Come on now. Ricky. Hold on. Yo, Ricky.
Here's James Toney finally really getting to Ricky Thomas. Boy, that right hand could have done it, but it was the hook instead that really rocked him.